We saw some snow and some sunshine this past week. Brandon's looking ahead to what we can expect for the weekend. In signs in Washington, there may be a compromise in the works to help small businesses in the pandemic. Plus, what President-elect Joe Biden says he'll ask every American to do for 100 days. Good afternoon. Let's start with breaking news. We begin with that massive marina fire that has burned hundreds of boats, and it is still going. There are dozens of crews trying to put out that fire and save those boats at the Monroe County Marina, but they are running into some roadblocks. Here's how things look right now. Sky 4 overhead. Firefighters have been able to get some of the massive flames under control, but there is still smoke. Look at that black billowing smoke there. Happening at the Toledo Beach Marina in LaSalle Township, and that is where we find Grant Herms. He is there right now with the very latest. So Grant, what does it look like from your point of view?
Well, Karen, good afternoon. The smoke has more or less died down, but earlier today, thick black smoke blanketed most of this area. It was so thick you could barely see those first responders working to knock down this 3-alarm fire. The view from the air is devastating. An entire building full of hundreds of boats burning into Lake Erie. The fire was called in just before 7 in the morning, the flames devouring nearly everything inside.
Large explosions.
On the ground, the fire caught in this video on social media, viewed more than 120,000 times just before the roof of the building collapses.
Collapsing right now.
I'm thinking it's going to be a real tragedy for a lot of people. I'm sure they have underinsured a lot of these boats or no insurance at all.
First responders say no one was hurt, but they don't have a cause. And the issue for firefighters was ironic, not enough water, even though they were on the shore of a Great Lake.
The water is there, but accessing that water to deliver it in a manner that the fire guys need to deliver it with is very difficult.
Our phones just started going crazy about 6:45, 7 o'clock. And with our boat being in the building right next to it, we got here as fast as we could.
For boat owners like Ronnie Wolf, the morning was heartbreaking. All they could do was stand and watch their world burn. But she and others said they were glad everyone was safe.
It's things, not people. So, you know, there's much worse going on out there, and we're grateful that we didn't have a loved one or something irreplaceable on it.
The chief resource officer of the marina released a statement earlier today saying that they were thankful that none of their employees were hurt, that there weren't any injuries that they were aware of. They said that they are working with first responders here, and they have started an investigation into how this fire started. In LaSalle Township, Grant Herms, Local 4.
All right, we appreciate it. Thank you, Grant. A Detroit firefighter was hurt fighting a fire on the city's east side this morning. This happened on Sunset near McNichols and Mound. The fire department says he hurt his back and had burns on his wrist. He was taken to Detroit Receiving. He is expected to be treated and released. No one else was hurt. That house was vacant. Now to the coronavirus and a new update on quarantining from the state. The Department of Health and Human Services has updated guidance to match the CDC. The quarantine period can be reduced to 10 days if a person does not have symptoms, and they continue to monitor for symptoms for the full 14 days. The state says more than 7,100 new cases were reported yesterday and 175 more deaths. The governor said the state was waiting on more data before she makes a decision on extending the 3-week pause. The U.S. marked another grim milestone, a second day of record deaths from the virus. We lost more than 2,800 lives just yesterday. The final jobs report of the year came out this morning, and economists are calling it a wake-up call and a warning. The unemployment rate went down, but the number of jobs added was lower than expected for November. President-elect Biden will address that this afternoon while making new promises about how he will fight the coronavirus. Tracy Potts has the latest from Washington.
Today's new jobs number showing the impact of COVID restrictions on the economy. The U.S. saw 245,000 new jobs last month, 2/3 less than the month before, pushing the unemployment rate down to 6.7%. President-elect Biden outlining how he'll fight coronavirus, vowing to get the vaccine on camera and asking all Americans to mask up.
Not forever, 100 days. And I think we'll see a significant reduction if that occurs.
Biden tells CNN he's keeping Dr. Anthony Fauci as a chief medical advisor. Fauci urging Americans not to travel for Christmas and to get the vaccine when it's available.
95% efficacious. It doesn't mean anything if people don't get vaccinated, and that's the reason why we're really pushing the envelope on that.
In Washington, there's growing optimism that Congress will avoid a government shutdown next week and approve COVID relief before the end of the year.
We know where we agree. We can do this.
We believe that with good faith negotiations, we could very well come to an agreement.
President Trump says he will sign the $908 billion compromise.
You'll support it?
I will, absolutely.
That bill includes money for small businesses, healthcare workers, unemployment, but no stimulus checks.
And President Trump avoiding a direct question about whether he would fire Attorney General Bill Barr. Multiple sources tell NBC he hasn't ruled it out after Barr said pretty plainly that there has been no widespread election fraud. Tracy Potts, NBC News.
Biden has said his transition team is working on its own coronavirus relief package. His aides have signaled they plan for that to be their first legislative push. Knocking on the door.
Well, good afternoon, Karen. It's Friday. I know it's not the greatest looking day out there, but it's Friday, so maybe good enough for us. Can't rule out a drip or a flake here or there. Take a look at the downtown Penobscot camera looking toward Windsor and the Detroit River and the flag whipping there. We've got west-southwest winds 10 to 20 around Metro Detroit, so 40 feels like 33. Other wind chills are, I guess, either side of freezing, but it certainly does feel cooler out there, and both the winds and the increased clouds will keep our temperatures down. Only a couple of degrees from where we're at now, but again, you have to factor in that breeze. 10 to 20 out of the west-southwest, and yes, a few drips, a few flakes. I guess we've warmed just enough to see everything a little more liquid. But Karen, again, this is your Friday afternoon. Isolated drips and flakes of very little concern. We'll take a look at your weekend forecast. Straight ahead.
All right. Thank you, Brandon. A court hearing is set for one of the men charged in the plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer. Pete Musico of Munith faces 4 charges, including providing material support for planned acts of terrorism. Officials believe Musico was a founding member of the so-called Wolverine Watchmen. He's one of 14 men tied to the group, now charged in connection to the plot. The probable cause hearing will determine if there is enough evidence to go to trial. East Point police make a drug bust with the help of its canine officer. Police pulled over Jawan Allen and Dean Craig Jr. on November 22nd over on 8 Mile. Officers say they saw what appeared to be a clear plastic bag containing a white substance during that search. A canine officer alerted officers to the glove box where 118 grams of suspected drugs were found. They also found cash and a handgun. Both men are facing several drug charges. Craig faces an additional weapons charge. This morning, 2 channels were reopened to traffic in the Detroit River 2 days after a freighter ran aground. The 500-foot freighter was moved and is now anchored in Canadian waters awaiting an inspection. The ship had 18 people on board when it got stuck near Grosse Ile Wednesday. The freighter is loaded with 74,000 gallons of fuel, but the Coast Guard says there is no sign any of it leaked. Help me, Hank. Recall alert here at noon. The tens of thousands of cars being recalled because the engine could fail or they could catch fire. But first, a tiger goes on the attack at an animal sanctuary made popular by the Netflix hit Tiger King. That story next.